All right, what would I do if I was Tank Davis, Dennis Bernacek, Lomachenko, and Shakur Stevenson? You got to put yourself into these fighters' situations and what benefits them. All right, so let me go with Lomachenko. All right, and let me go with Dennis Bernacek. Right, these two. And the reason why I bring these two at the same time is because they're both Ukrainians, and I don't think they want to fight each other. That's basically it. I don't think they want to fight each other, and they're trying to put themselves in the position. Hey, over here, it's a duck. I get it. We could say duck, duck, duck without the fucking goose all day. I understand. It's a duck. That's what it is. It's a duck. Okay, let's move on now. Now, let's see the strategic play in this duck. All right? Hey, a duck is a duck. It is what it is. But the way you see it is just a duck. That's it. But the way I see it is a strategic play for Dennis Bernacek, if I'm saying his name right, the WBO, and Lomachenko, the IBF champion, these two, not to fight each other and put them in a position where they don't have to fight each other. So this is what happens if you're Loma and Dennis Bernacek, right? And what Loma could do is fall back, just like what he's doing right now. He's falling back. He's saying, I'm going to take the rest of the year off like he did last time. And the way I see it, he's looking, and Dennis, right, for Shakur and Tank Davis to fight. And once they do that, right, then you got Dennis and then you got Loma, right? And the winner of Shakur or Tank will fight the two Ukrainians up here. That's basically it. The two Ukrainians. This is how they stop themselves from fighting each other. So now if Dennis fights, right, if Dennis fights either Shakur or Tank and he lose, well, Loma could get the fight and fight the winner of the winner of Shakur or Tank. Now, the only way these two are going to fight, if one of these win between Shakur or Tank. That's basically it. And then, guess what? They keep it homeland security, and no matter what, that belt still comes back to Ukraine, and blah, 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 and then they unify and this and that or whatever, right? So, or be undisputed or whatever, right? So they're doing what I feel is just a strategic play. It's a duck move. It's a duck move, right? And I got no issues with what people saying is a duck, because it is a duck. I got to just say this because I'm trying to tell you reasoning and strategics, and then you'll say, oh, you're not really telling Loma's duck, or you're just trying to make an excuse for him. No, it's a duck. I have to say this because niggas are hard-headed. They are fucking hard-headed, right? It's a fucking duck to me. But I'm looking at the strategic play within the duck. That's it. So this is what I think Loma could do. Denise Bernacek, the WBO champion, if he wants to keep busy, well, hey, he could fight William Cepeda. He could fight Keyshawn Davis, but I believe he's not going to put himself in that situation, right? Right? So as a Ukrainian, and you have another Ukrainian as a champion, I'm sure they're talking and saying, well, you know what, let's just back up and let these two fight. And that's what it is. And if Dennis wants to keep busy and fight William Cepeda, if Oscar wants that for him, and that's one of William Cepeda's options, right? Like Oscar's talking his options. Well, hey, then that's one of his options, right? And that could pass the time, and he could stay busy with William Cepeda or even Keyshawn Davis, which I think he won't even try stepping that way with Keyshawn Davis, right? He's number 3 on, I think, at the WBO. He's the number 3, right? And William Cepeda is number 1. So that what I can see for Dennis Bernacek. What also I can see for Loma, they holding out. They're waiting to see what's going on. Now, let's see, who should I pick next? I picked those two. Let's talk about Shakur, right? Shakur, right? Now I hear people saying he's a free agent. In my last video, I said, man, you being a free agent ain't worth shit. You know why? Because people in their brains, I'm not saying my brain, but people in their brains saying you're boring and you can't sell. That's it. That's the bottom line. The sheep goes along with what sounds the most, right? So you got to go by what the sheep is believing. And the sheep, all majority of the sheep believe that you're boring. ESPN, they showed that all the people was walking out in your hometown and blah, 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 and all this shit. Fine. So I said in my last video, I said, man, as a free agent, nobody gonna want to pick you up. Now, the only thing that's helping you out with this being a free agent is that belt. It's that belt. Same thing with Terrence Crawford. They say he couldn't sell. He can't do. But guess what? He had a belt. And guess what? Somebody had to come and see that man. Regardless if one had 3 and Terrence had 1. If you want to be undisputed, if it's about belts or money, this is it. This is it now. It's about belts or money or both. We're gonna figure this shit out, right? So as Shakur, you're a free agent, but the lifesaver you have is the belt. That is your lifesaver, because if you had no belt and you was a free agent, I'm sorry, my son. The way things are going in your last fight, this is how people see it. I'm not saying I see it that way. You're 3rd division. You're a silver medalist. Okay, it's just that your style ain't fitting the profile of many people. They want knockouts. That's it. But since you have that belt, you got your bargaining chip. You're a free agent. Now, this is what I'm hearing, right? But as a free agent, you have the right to do this. And I have no problem with it. No problem. But I see how Loma and Tank was about to do a co-promotion. Loma's with Bob Arum. Tank is with the Al Heyman or Tom Brown and Prime, right? So they was about to do a co-promotion. So we could slash that bullshit out the we could throw that shit out the window. Yeah, we could throw that shit out there. We can't use that you on the wrong side of the street bullshit when this fight was going to happen between Loma and Tank Davis. We can't talk that shit, right? And now, Shakur, I'm saying if I was in Shakur's shoes, because I was in Loma, I was at Dennis Bernacek, now I'm in Shakur, I would do that fight. I would do a fight, not fight by fight, but y'all both champions, Tank and Shakur. Y'all should have to respect that if one of y'all loses, you should have a rematch. So I'll do a 2-fight deal. I'll do a 2-fight. I said, listen, I'll do a 2-fight deal with PBC just to secure the fight, right? And a rematch for respect, right? Good. But we all know in the future, even when Shakur does this, right? The next complication bullshit is the money. And just like they did with Terrence Crawford, try to give him nothing, no guarantee, all this bullshit. That would show me that Tank don't want the fight. Because they're going to say that, see, even with the belt, even if you're a free agent, when it's time for you to sign, oh, wow, they're going to say, well, you're boring, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're going to give you in the back end. Your guarantee probably very low. And then this is going to be the discrepancy, and this is what's going to go back and forth within the YouTube channels and the community. They're going to go back and forth, and they're going to blame Shakur. Even though Shakur trying to sign with the PBC to get the fight with Tank, there's going to be all these barricades, and he got to have to, all this shit. That's basically it, right? So, what'd you say? No, there's a lot of favoritism, right? It is a lot of favoritism. But the thing is with this is that, see, Shakur is a free agent. If he was still with Bob Arum, I'm telling you right now, if he was still with Bob Arum, we won't have to hear about this co-promotion shit. I mean, we don't have to hear about other side of the street because the cat is out the bag. Tank and Loma was about to do a co-promotion. So let's say if Shakur was still with Bob Arum. Let's say he's still with Bob Arum. That excuse is out the window because he was trying to make that fight a co-promotion, right? I'm just saying if Loma and Shakur, if they both were signed to Bob, Loma was signed to Bob, but I'm saying they both were signed to Bob, and the fight said, well, Loma backed out the fight in negotiations. Well, we shouldn't talk about the other side of the street because you was willing, Tank was willing to have a fight with Loma, right? So now it would have been easier also to take that whole equation out the window, because the next thing you know, like I said, we're going to argue about what Shakur should demand and what Shakur should get for being in the fight, being in the ring with Tank Davis. And if Shakur don't agree with it, the fight ain't gonna happen. See, these ain't mandatories. These is just championship. This is unifying and undisputed, right? So there's no mandatory to fight no champion, right? So that's what it is. So now that he's a free agent, this is the next future arguments in the YouTube community, because I know Al Hammond or Todd Brown, they're not going to give him $3 million. They're not going to give him $3 million, right? Well, Bob was giving him $3 million a fight, right? So I don't know if Shakur going to say, well, I don't deserve 1.5 in the front, and then in the back I get, depending what's the back, and I don't know what's going on in the books and all this blah, 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 and I don't know what you're going to give me. So believe me right now, that's the next argument of being a free agent and signing to the PBC. I learned from Crawford and all that shit. That's going to be the next hoopla. That's the next hoopla. You heard it here. That's the next hoopla. So the thing with Shakur is, now I'm going to give you an example again. Now I know I showed this before, but I got to show it again so you can understand the words that's coming out my mouth. Right? So you can understand where I'm coming from with Bob Arum, and how I know Shakur feels a certain way with Bob Arum. And I'm saying that if you do sign back with Bob Arum, let's avoid this. Let's avoid this. Here we go. And I quote Bob Arum: "Fuck being unified champion. Screw that. There's not a person in this room that knows the WB champion or the IBF champion. So who wants to put on those fights on? They're not going to draw shit. Shakur can defend titles against other fighters at 130. There's a lot of good fighters that he can fight at 130, not the jabronis that are champions of the WB and the IBF." So that's what we're trying to avoid from Bob Arum. All right? Because in that 130 division, we don't know those jabronis. And Bob Arum said, they don't sell. Let Shakur defend his title at 130. We don't know those jabronis, the WBA and the IBF. So we're trying, I understand where Shakur coming from. We're trying to say, if I do sign back with Bob Arum, right? And I'm talking about how I would think. This is how I feel. I did Loma, Dennis Bernacek. I'm doing Shakur right now. I'm telling you, if I was Shakur, that a couple of things is going to happen if I was Shakur. I know it's your pride and your ego and that you left, and I understand it, right? I understand your reasonings, right? But if you had took that fight deal for $15 million, you would never have to worry about worrying about signing. You're a free agent, signing to the PBC and getting 1.2 or 1.5 or even 2 million guarantee and then money in the back end. Because Bob Arum said, all right, kid, you don't want to sign? Go fish and see if you're going to get 3 million per fight. Right? And now, as a promoter, as Bob Arum, after I saw that performance, and you do come back to me, now I got an option to say, well, kid, there's a saying out there that you're boring, and I don't think you're worth 3 million no more. I give you 2.2, 2.5, 2.7. And me, I'll swallow my ego and my pride and take it. Now, the only reason why I wouldn't take the money from Bob Arum, right? The only reason I wouldn't take the money from Bob Arum, if he does this situation where he will sign me, but he won't sign a guaranteed fight with Dennis Bernacek, right? Or Loma. Because look, Loma Shakur was there, and Loma didn't want to fight Shakur. Right? He didn't want to fight Shakur. We'll get back into that. We're gonna get into that. Or Bob Arum didn't want to give the fight to Shakur. But all of a sudden they do a co-promotion with Tank and Loma. Well, Loma see that Tank is bigger money. But Loma also see that it will be bigger money if he waits. And let these two figure out who's on top and who's going to get the belts, so you could do less of anything. That's an anything, right? So it's the same way. Loma's like, listen, I'm just going to lay back and let them do the do. And then whoever get that next belt that's unified, then blam, we're going to fight. Basically, that's it, right? Or Dennis Bernacek is going to fight, and then all of a sudden, if he loses, that person that's the winner of Shakur and Tank Davis got 3 belts now. All he have to do, and now he don't have to fight his native Ukrainian. All he have to do is fight the winner, right? And that's it. That's what Loma's trying to do, right? Or Dennis Bernacek, right? Whoever's the last standing is going to be Ukraine at the end fighting the winner of Shakur or Tank. That's basically it, right? And like I said, if Dennis Bernacek beats the winner of the winner of Shakur or Tank, well then that's the only way these 2 Ukrainians going to fight, and it'll still be in-house because it's going to be going back to their country, and so on. So that's what I'm saying. But for Shakur, if I was Shakur, I would have gone back and took the 5-fight deal, or a 2-fight deal, or a 3-fight deal. But don't get mad if now they're saying that we're not going to give you $3 million a fight. And the only reason why I wouldn't go back to Bob Arum is because I don't want to hear that bullshit. I don't want to hear that bullshit that, well, you know, nobody wants to see that fight between Shakur and Dennis Bernacek. It won't sell. You see what I'm saying? It won't sell. Why would I do that? Why would I put him in a unification fight if it don't sell? Now I understand what you're coming from, Shakur. So you got to look at it in both angles, and this is how I'm seeing it. So I'm figuring you left for a reason because of 130, right? Or you feel like he's not going to give you the fights you want. And if that's a fight, if you say, all right, I'm going to sign back to him. All right, you ain't going to give me $3 million a fight. You're going to give me 2.5. I'll take it. I'll take 2.7, whatever, right? So at least when you're about to fight Tank, at least you know you're getting a guarantee right up front that the PBC ain't going to give you. That's basically it. So I know the issues you got, but you're a free agent and you got a belt, and somebody's got to see you, regardless. And this is where Tank comes in. Now I'm Tank. Because now Tank is the one that's saying that after the fight with Lomachenko, we have a goal. Our goal is to be undisputed. Loma got this goal. Shakur got this goal. And Tank, I don't know what his goals are. I really don't. Because he says belts don't matter, whatever. So I don't know where he's going with this, right? But Tank, he's the one that's got to send and push the contract. He's the A side. He's got to push that contract to Shakur and say, hey, are you ready for this fight? Now, let's fight with Lomachenko. Lomachenko pulled out. If I hear Tank saying, well, I'm not going to fight till 2025, that means it sounds like he's chasing Loma. Why would you not, just because Loma says he's going to back off, right? You decide to back off for the rest of the year. Nah, this shit ain't making no sense. Because at the end of the day, you said, after Lomachenko, Shakur, you're next. Well, guess what? Lomachenko took himself out the fucking equation. Fight Shakur this year. Fucking this year. And if you don't, well, do we consider that a duck? Do we consider that a duck? Come on, Tank fans. Come on, Tank fanatics. Do we consider that a duck? Right? If he said, Tank said Shakur is next after Loma, but Loma decides not to fight. So what do you have next in this year? It's still, August, July, August, September, October. About six months or whatever. And you can make this fight. Just act like it's fucking Loma. Just act like it's fucking Loma, right? But we still got to go through all the fucking negotiations with the free agent and paying him next to nothing for the fight. We're gonna have to hear all that shit. But that's the bottom line with Tank. And hold up, Captain Full. I just got an idea under the sun, right? And we'll get back to regular scheduled program. But check this out. Dennis Bernacek, he could end up fighting Tank. Both of these fighters could get their biggest bag fighting Tank. All right? Because if you leave it up to Bob with Shakur, right, and fighting Dennis Bernacek, right? Let's just say if he wants to come back and do a 5-fight or 3-fight deal. But he's not going to give him the $3 million, probably give him less, 2.5, based on his last performance, and that he left him and he didn't re-sign and all this emotional retardation. He not going to make that much money off the fight with Shakur. This is going to be his argument why he doesn't want to give Shakur the fight with Dennis Bernacek, right? And we all know that Loma don't want to fight Shakur, and we all know that if Dennis was to choose Shakur or Tank, he'll fight Tank. So I could see Loma and Dennis Bernacek getting their biggest bag with Tank, right? So back to regular scheduled program. So, and they won't have to fight each other anyway still, but they still could get a biggest bag, right? And guess what? Who could have all the belts? Well, if Tank beats Dennis Bernacek, he has 2 belts, and if he decides to fight Loma and leave Shakur last and fight him next year, right? Hey, that's the perfect thing to do. I think that's the route that Tank could go. He has options, right? But what do Zepeda give him, right? What does Zepeda give him? So if that was the case, if it's a co-promotion with Dennis Bernacek or Lomachenko, or if both co-promotion, Tank should take it, right? And Shakur, hey man, it is what it is. Because if Bob is going to go the same shit he did at 130, then we got an issue. And if he's not going to secure a fight with Dennis Bernacek because he feel it don't sell, but it will sell more with Tank, you can't get mad at the man. This is what it is. You know, there is a lot of fucking favoritism. And it never amazes me. Like Oscar, see, this is the thing what Oscar said. This is the thing that Oscar said. And I want to put it, I know everybody in the boxing community, but I'm looking at the casuals that's watching this, just in case they have to understand it. That's why I have to play it over and over again. We got to cater to the casual and educate them, because they're stupid, dotish motherfuckers. But if they see something like this, they can understand what's going on in Shakur. They can understand what's going on, what Oscar De La Hoya is saying, right? And we can understand what's Tank doing. So let's listen to what Oscar De La Hoya said. Come on.
Let's start with the WBC and ordering Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Ordering? What does that mean? They ordered Canelo Benavidez like 3 years ago, and that hasn't happened. William will make his decision very soon, and he has 3 other options.
So Zepeda has 3 other options, and this is the favoritism. And I'm in a way, I'm glad Oscar De La Hoya pushed this shit in these sanctioning bodies' faces, because it's so true what he said about Benavidez and Canelo, right? And he's doing the same thing with Zepeda. He don't have to fight. Who cares if it's mandatory? And see, that's wrong. That's wrong. I work on a plantation. I got things to do on a plantation from 9 to 5, right? And if I say I don't want to do this job today, well, I get in trouble. Something happens. But see, the thing with these mandatories, if they don't want to fight the champion, well, there should be some kind of situation where they got to get fined and they get lowered down in the sanction body, in the rankings. Oh, you don't want to fight? All right, we're going to drop you down. We're going to drop you down to number 5 because you don't want to fight. But see, WBC and WBA, all these sanction bodies, they want to play favoritism to the fighter that brings the most money, the cash cow. And now it's going right back in their face. Bam! Right in your fucking face now. It's hitting you back in your motherfucking face. Because now when you got a promoter like this saying, well, I don't got to do it because look, I'm pointing the finger. He can't do it. Favoritism. Hey, what'd you say, Tank Fanatics? Yeah, you tell me when's the last time that Tank did a mandatory. How many voluntaries he had? Go do your homework. How many voluntaries he had? And tell me, this is favoritism. When you are the cash cow, or supposed to be the cash cow, or the face, you get favoritisms. You get these brown envelope under the table to the WBA, the WBC, or any of these sanction bodies, right? To get away with what you need to get away with, right? Favoritism comes with a fucking brown paper bag. Don't forget that. It's not because you're just, yeah, you could be the face of boxing, but it also comes with a brown paper bag under there, right? What can you do for me in order for me to keep you on top? That's the bottom line. Hold on, somebody's calling me. Oh no, they stopped. Right? So this is the favoritism that goes on. And I like how this, hold on. Oh man. Call me back. All right. I like how they do this. I love how they do this situation where it is back in the sanctioned body's face to let them know that mandatories don't mean shit. It don't mean shit. Unification, undisputed over trumps mandatories, but now mandatories don't mean nothing if they don't want to fight the champion. He should fight just because Loma don't want to fight. Everybody was saying this fight was going to happen in November. Just put your core ass in that position and make the fight. And if you don't want to make the fight and you try to make the fight to make it look like you're making the fight, but then come and give him Shakur a fucked up deal, and then Shakur say, nah, I don't want that. I ain't worth that. And Shakur feels like he's worth $33 million and he's getting less, and his pride and ego is getting in the way, and we're going through this whole regurgitated shit over and over and over again. That's basically it. That's basically it in a nutshell. But Tank, if he's the face of boxing, if he's the one that sells, when he has a certain particular fighter in the ring, and if they say, well, when Shakur fights him, he ain't going to sell much, or blah, blah, he's going to fight more, he's going to make more money with Loma. Listen, at the end of the day, all these fucking boxers got a job to do. Regardless if you want to call him a duck or not, these niggas are strategic. Look at Canelo. You think he cares if you calling him a fucking duck? Or Benavidez? He's still moving on. He got a job to do. And he's going to do the job the way he wants to do it because he is the face and he getting the A-OK to fucking duck Benavidez. And I always say, Benavidez deserves that fight more than Crawford. Benavidez deserves that. I am a Crawford fan. But at the same time, if you ask me who do I want to see fight Canelo, I'll say Benavidez. You know why? Because he deserves it. He deserves it. He's in the same division. How long you been a mandatory? Years. What, 3 years? 2 years or something like that? And he never, and nothing happened to Canelo. Nothing happened to Canelo. So, yeah, I would love to see Crawford fight Canelo. But money talks, bullshit walks. Turkey out the Sheik. Whatever fight he wants to fight, either he want to see Canelo, Boots, or whatever, the money talks, the bullshit walks. That's it. And if he decides he wants to see Benavidez versus Canelo, I would never be mad with that. I won't be mad at Turkey Al-Sheikh if he decides if he wants Benavidez to fight Canelo. But we know Canelo's like, nah, I don't want that fight. And he wants $200 million for a fight with Benavidez or something like that. So this is how shit popped right back in your face. The sanction bodies, y'all don't do nothing. You don't do nothing. You should be giving them a fine if you don't fight your mandatory, or you should be dropped down on the rankings. 5 spots down, 6 spots down. Work your fucking way back up. So we will avoid mandatories not doing what they're supposed to do, right? Or they'll just have to go to purse bed or whatever. I don't know what it is. But this is what I'm saying to Shakur. You have an options to either go back with Bob Arum, and if you do go back with Bob Arum, make sure in that 3-fight deal, 4-fight or 5-fight deal, whatever fights, because things change and shit get rearranged as time goes on. All you got to do is say, I want a guaranteed fight with Dennis Bernacek. At least I want a unified fight when I'm coming back to you. I don't want to hear about, they don't know those jabronis, I don't know who this is, and it doesn't sell, and they don't put no money in my pocket. None of that bullshit. If you go back to him, make sure on the dotted line it says, listen, I want to fight. Hey, I know you ain't going to let me fight Loma, but I want to fight with Dennis Bernacek. And if Dennis Bernacek don't want to fight you, and Loma don't want to fight you, don't worry about none. Just stay fucking happy. Keep your fucking, hey, keep your belt. Your mandatories are ducking you. That's not your fault. Hey, that stops you. They can't take the belt from you. Somebody got to come and see you. Tank got to come and see you. Loma got to come and see you. Dennis Bernacek got to come and see you. Whatever it is. But at the end of the day, man, Shakur, the way I see it, you're a free agent with a belt. Don't worry, just be happy. Something's going to happen. They just can't take your belt away from you when mandatories don't want to fight you. It just doesn't work that way. You got a career. You got work to do. That's where there's rankings, right? Because you have a job to do. people don't, they're going to tell you don't sell. Fine. You still got a job to do it. Somebody still got to come to see you. That's basically it. So I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here for you to read between the lines. I'm also here to irritate your mind. It's not what they say, it's what they're not saying. I mix the lies with the truth and the truth the lies. But at the end of the day, you love lies and you hate the truth.